Good morning, students. So, shall we enter into today's class? So, till the last class, we have revised half of the lesson, right? In crop production and management. Okay, so today we revise the next half of this lesson. So, in the first revision class, we have studied about the agricultural practices, soil preparation, selection and sowing of seeds, and irrigation. So, these three already we have revised. Okay, so today we revise the remaining part of this lesson. Okay, the next is weeding and crop protection. Weeding and crop protection. What is weeding or what are weeds? Weeds are the undesirable plants grow along with the crops. So weeds are the undesirable plants growing along with the crops. And these are some of the examples of weeds. They are amaranthus, wild oat, grass, chenopodium, amaranthus, wild oat, grass, and chenopodium. And what is weeding? Weeding is the removal of weeds is called weeding. The process of removing the weeds is called weeding, and this weeding can be done by two methods. They are the manual weeding and using weedicides. Manual weeding and using weedicides. Manual weeding is done by removing the weeds by hand and by using the implements harrow, trowel, and hoe. So in manual weeding, and it is done by plucking or removing the weeds by hand or using the implements like harrow, trowel, and hoe. And here some disadvantages are there. It is time consuming and even lead to the accidental removal of the crops also. Okay, so it is time consuming, and sometimes we may remove the desired crops, that is the crops that we have planted for our use. And the next disadvantage is the implements which are made up of iron, so we have to maintain them properly, otherwise it may rust. The second method is by using weedicides. This weedicide is nothing but the chemical which is used to destroy the weeds. Weedicides are the chemicals used to destroy weeds. Here some of the examples, they are dalafen, metachlor, and cystiazine. Dalafen, metachlor, and cystiazine are some of the weedicides to destroy the weeds. And like weeds or like undesirable plants, some animals like rats and insects also damage the crops. These animals are called pests. Okay, these animals are pests, and these are destroyed by using pesticides. So pesticides are the chemicals used to kill the pest. And when the farmers use the pesticides and weedicides, they have to follow some steps, because some safety measures. So because it affects the health of the farmers. Okay, so when the farmers use these pesticides and weedicides, they should be very careful, because they will be affected. So it affects the health of the farmers, and the traces of chemicals may remain in the crops as well as the grains of vegetables should be washed before consuming. So the vegetables, fruits, whatever crops we get from this field should be washed before consumption. The next step is harvesting and storage. Harvesting is the process of cutting and gathering of crops. Cutting and gathering of crops is called harvesting. And here, harvesting is done by using the implement which is called sickle, or with the help of the machine called harvester. Okay, harvesting is done by sickle or the machine which is called harvester. After harvesting, the grains or the cereal grains of the cereal plants are separated from the rest of the plant parts. Okay, so that method is called threshing. So removing the grains from the other parts of the plant. For that, they used to beat the grains or with the plants on a hard surface, so that the grains will be collected. That method is called threshing, and winnowing is there, and threshing is done by the harvester, the combine harvester. Okay, this harvester is used for threshing also. Threshing is nothing but the removal of grains from the plant pots. The next one is winnowing. Winnowing is winnowing is nothing but the removal of chaff from the grains. Chaff is nothing but the seed cover. Without grains, the it will be there. That is called chaff. So the removal of chaff from the grains is called winnowing, and this will be done by the winnowing pan. The last step is storage. The harvested grains must be stored properly. So before storing, the grains must be sun dried to prevent the spoilage, because if moisture is there, the insects and the other microorganisms spoil the grains and other food items. So the grains must be sun dried before storage. And if the dried grains are stored in the gunny bags or bins. If it is large quantity, it is stored in the granaries and silos. Okay, students, so we have completed the agricultural practices from soil preparation up to harvesting and storage. Now, let us see the methods to increase crop yield. So to increase the crop production, the farmers have to do some techniques. The first one is mixed cultivation. Here, two or more different types of crops are sown in a particular field at the same time. So two or more crops are sown in a particular period or particular field at the same time. So here one crop will be the wheat or paddy, and the other will be leguminous plant, because the leguminous plants absorb the nitrogen and fix in the soil. It absorbs the atmospheric nitrogen and fix in the soil, so that the other plant can take or use that nitrogen and it can grow properly. Next technique is crop rotation. The practice of growing two or more dissimilar crops in the same field, one after the other. Okay, so the practice of growing two or more dissimilar means different crops in the same field, one after the other, not at the same time, one after the other. That method is called crop rotation. So here wheat or paddy is sown in one season, and the next season the leguminous plant will be sown, so that the other plant get the nitrogen. Okay, So these are some of the leguminous plants: beans, pea, lentil, peanuts, soya bean, chickpea, broad bean, mung bean. What is the speciality of this leguminous plant in crop protection? So these plants have root nodules in their roots, and the root nodules contain the bacteria which is called rhizobium. This rhizobium bacteria absorb the atmospheric nitrogen and fix or convert it into nitrates and fix in the soil. That is called nitrogen fixation, so that the next coming crops can use or utilize that nitrogen and grow properly or give good yieldings. Okay, like plants, animals also give us food. So the rearing of animals on large scale for food and other needs is called animal husbandry. Rearing of animals on large scale for food and other needs is called animal husbandry. And milk is obtained from cows, buffaloes and goats, and which is used for making butter, ghee, curd, cheese and etc. Then meat which is obtained from animals like goats and chicks, and people also eat fish, shrimp, prawns, lobster and some other sea animals also. And eggs are obtained from birds such as duck, turkey, hen, and honey is obtained from honeybees. And the rearing of or the practice of rearing honey bees is known as apiculture. Okay, students, we have completed or we have revised the whole portion. So all of you study well and get ready for the test and write this test very well. Okay, thank you, students.